How a relationship begins often sets up expectations for how she views you for the entire relationship. A question like, should you pay for dinner on the first date, can seem very simple and straightforward, but they can actually set in place a momentum that can be very difficult to break. Once expectations get going, it's very hard to resist that inertia, and often the consequences can be disastrous. That's why it's extremely important that you are on top of your game from the very first date and you're making the right moves. I've got some footage here of a girl explaining what she enjoys in a first date.
So would you rather plan all the details for a first date or have a guy just take you on an adventure?
Well, I feel like first dates typically come from the guy, so like, I haven't really asked anyone on the first date. So typically I feel like the guy plans the first date no matter what. But for me personally, I like being surprised. So like, if I feel like they're just like taking me on an adventure, I would love that. Like if they told me like, okay, like wear this and this and this, but then like they plan the rest, I think that like shows that they care and like initiative. And then, but I am definitely like a control freak and I love planning. So like later on, I definitely would love to like join in on the planning, but the first date, I'd be fine with them planning it all. So.
There is a lot of conflicting advice out there. Some guys will say that you should pay for dinner. Others will tell you to split it. Others will say that you should insist that she pays. In this video, I'm going to explain what I think is important for you to do on a first date so that you properly set up her expectations going into a relationship. In case you're new here, a quick TLDR of my worldview is that men are naturally the leaders in relationships. It's normal and natural for men to be more dominant and women to be more submissive. This isn't a social construction, this is biological. I'm not saying men should be dominant in a controlling or exploitative way. I'm saying that when men display that dominance and leadership, women respond to it. That's what they actually want. Women like a man that they can look up to and admire, a man who takes responsibility. Women are attracted to a man who has confidence and just does what he wants. So with that in mind, I'm going to cover two topics that are important when it comes to first dates. Who decides where you go and who pays for dinner? The first question, who decides where you go? The answer, you. You choose where you go on your first date. Do not let her decide. Don't try anything weak like, oh, I'm good with anything, I'll let you decide. Or, well, what do you feel like doing? Women hate that. You're the man, you make the decisions. She doesn't want to make decisions. She wants the fun, excitement, and adventure of tagging along on your already awesome life. If she has to take responsibility for what you do on the date and start making decisions, that's going to trigger the rational, logical part of her brain, and you don't want that. You want her to stay in that highly receptive, emotional, romantic, sexual side of her brain. You need to take control of the masculine side of things so that she can stay in her feminine state. So if on your date you go to a restaurant, make sure that it's one that you've chosen, one that you like. Don't go somewhere new, to some place that you've never been before. Go somewhere that's comfortable and familiar. In that way, the dynamic is already set up for you. You know the place, you're familiar with it, you're in charge. This is your experience and she's just coming along with you. To go to a place that you're already familiar with and enjoy shows a strong masculine frame. You're not altering your life in a massive way to accommodate her. You're just doing what you do and she's lucky enough to be brought along. Women get suspicious of men who are too accommodating. They start to think, well, why is he altering his life so much just because I'm here? Doesn't he have his own stuff going on? If she feels like you're just doing what you do, that's what's going to make her feel safe and comfortable. It's an extra bonus if you happen to know the owner of the restaurant, the manager, the waiters and waitresses, whatever it might be. Anything that demonstrates some social proof is going to help her relax into that state where she's safe, comfortable, and receptive. If you have any interesting or funny stories of things that took place at the restaurant, or you know some facts about when it was built or whatever, just throw them in casually. It just all goes towards showing that you're in control of the situation. Now, when it comes to who pays for dinner, I'm not one of those guys that insists that she's going to pay her half. You chose the restaurant and you know what you can afford, so don't choose someplace that's too expensive for you. I actually think that it's kind of sweet and old-fashioned for a man to pay for dinner, especially if the date's going well. If she's behaving nicely, treating you kindly, she's feminine and engaged, well then the date's going well and you can reward that behavior by paying for dinner. On the other hand, if the date is a disaster, then yeah, insist on splitting the bill. You've already lost your evening to this woman, don't lose additional money as well. But I think that it's fine to pay for dinner, though I'm going to tell you that it is important that she offer to pay her half. You can say no and insist on paying, treat her, but she should offer. If a girl makes no effort to pay, she clearly is just expecting you to pay and that entitlement is just oozing out of her, that is a red flag. It could indicate that she doesn't value or respect you, or that she sees you as somebody who's not worth spending any money on. And it can just be a level of entitlement that it's better to avoid. But if the date is going well, some girls will offer to pay their half, even the whole meal. That's not that rare. If she's engaged and invested in you, she's going to try and make a good impression. If she does offer, it's a great sign, but you should say no, you should insist. No, I'm paying for dinner. But then how do you protect against her seeing you as just a meal ticket and taking advantage of you and exploiting you financially? You do it like this. You say, no, it's my treat. I'll pay for dinner. You pay for dessert. I know a great frozen yogurt place. It's just around the corner. We'll go there now. So already it's a good idea to go to multiple locations on a date because it helps create memories, a sense of a longer period of time spent together, which all goes towards building comfort and security. So if you're going to have dessert, I say change locations. You paid for the first part of the date, she can pay for the second part. Dessert isn't going to be as expensive as dinner, so it's not equality, but it is a gesture of equality. It's nice that it's reciprocal. You know, I do something for you, you do something for me, and if the date's going well, she'll be happy to do that. Doing it this way is important because you've demonstrated that you're not cheap. You know, you paid for dinner, but you're also not a sucker either. She's not somebody who she can just take for a ride. Trust me, you do not want her to have those expectations going into a relationship. I would actually say that psychologically, it's really important that during the date, she spend some money on you so that she is invested in you. There's a backwards rationalization that takes place where she thinks, if I spent money on him, he must have been worth the money that I spent. And that all just goes towards building more comfort and security. The other benefit of this is that it's just super easy and clean. Sometimes splitting the bill at a restaurant can be really awkward and messy, and it starts to get logical and rational as you're doing maths and whatever. That's not the frame of mind that you want her to stay in. A lot easier for you to just take care of that. You hand over your credit card at the restaurant, she goes and pays for the dessert wherever you happen to go. It's all super easy and straightforward. It demonstrates that you're a man, but you're not a sucker. Conducting yourself in this way sets up good expectations for a future relationship. You have demonstrated that you're masculine, that you know what you want, you're willing to take responsibility and a leadership role, but you've also demonstrated that you're valuable and you expect some reciprocity in the dynamic between you.